This is part 19 of linq tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss grouping by multiple keys. An anonymous type is usually used when we want to group by multiple keys. Let's understand this with an example. Let's flip to Visual Studio. So here I have a new console application. All I have done so far is added this employee.cs class file to this project. Here we have the employee class. This is the same class that we worked with in the previous session. I would strongly encourage you to watch part 18 before proceeding with this video if you have not done so already. Now what we want to do is whatever employee list that this getAllEmployees method is returning, we want those employees to be grouped first by department and then by gender. Notice that here we are grouping employees by two keys, that is department and gender. So anytime we want to group by multiple keys, that's when we use an anonymous type. We'll look at that in just a bit. So once we group the employees by department and by gender, we are going to have four different groups. So we have HR department and IT department groups, and within HR department we have got both female and male employees, and within IT department again we have both female and male employees. So we'll end up with four different employee groups. Now once we have these employee groups, we want these groups themselves to be sorted first by department and then by gender. Notice that in the output we first have the HR department and then IT department. And within HR department, notice that female employees group comes first and the male employees group come next, which means again they're sorted in ascending order. The same is the case with IT department as well. And again within each department we've got employees, and those employees should be sorted by name in ascending order. So let's see how to achieve this. So let's flip to Visual Studio. So within the main method, first let's create a variable to hold these groups, and let's call this variable employee groups equals, so we have the employee class dot get all employees is going to give us the list of employees, and what we want to do with these employees is group them, and we want to group them by multiple keys, that is first by department and then by gender. So that's when we use an anonymous type. So new x dot, we first want to group by department and then by gender. So as it is, this query right now is going to give us these four different groups. Now what we want to do with these groups, we want to sort these groups first by department and then by gender. So we are going to use order by group such that group dot, now this is interesting, notice the key property here. The moment I type a dot after key, notice that we have department and gender properties. Why? Because both of these properties form the keys by which we have grouped the employees. So we want to first order by department and then by g such that g dot key dot gender. So now we have the groups sorted. All that is left now is to sort the employees within each group, and for that we are going to project this result into a new anonymous type. So select J such that, let's build a new anonymous type, and within this anonymous type we'll specify the properties that we want. We want the department name, so dept equals g dot key dot department, and we also want the gender, so gender equals g dot key dot gender, and we also want the employees themselves, so let's call the property employees equals j. Now what do we want to do with these employees? We want to sort them by name in ascending order. So we are going to use order by extension method, and we'll specify the lambda expression to sort the employees by name in ascending order. Alright, so what's left now is to use a for each loop and then print the output. So console.writeLine. So how do we want the output? First we want the department name and then this word department and then the gender, employees count equals whatever is the count of employees. So basically we need three placeholders, one for the department name, one for the gender, and one for the total count. So that's the first placeholder for department name, department, and then the second placeholder for gender, employees count equals, and the third placeholder for the actual count. Okay, now we need to use a for each loop, so let's go and write the for each loop. So for each var group in employee groups. Alright, so we need to retrieve the group key. So group dot key dot, now we will not have key property within this group. Why is that? That's because here we are actually projecting key dot department into this property called DEPT. Similarly, gender into this property and employees into this property. So we will now have to use these properties. So group dot DEPT, and next we need the gender, and then finally the count. So group dot employees dot count. So let's actually bring this to the next line. Okay, so once we print this line, what do we want? We want a dashed line. So let's go ahead and print that line now. Console.writeLine. And then we want the employees themselves. So let's use another for each loop. So for each var employee in group dot employees. So that property is going to give us the employees within each group, and all that is left is to print the employee name, their gender, and department name. So console.writeLine, we want to print the employee name, and then let's print a back tab space, and then employee gender, and then another tab space, and then finally the department. Alright, and then also in the output we want an empty line after each group. So let's use two console.writeLine statements here. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this. Notice that we get 4 groups. First we get the HR department and then the IT department, and within HR we have female employees group first and then male employees group, and the same is the case for IT department, and within each group employees are sorted by name in ascending order. Alright, so now here we have used extension method syntax style. Now let's see how to rewrite this query using SQL-like syntax. So with SQL-like syntax, we'll start with the from keyword. So from, let's call the variable employee in employee.getAllEmployees. Now what we want to do is group employee by, we want to group the employees by 2 keys. So we are going to use an anonymous type. So group by, so we want to group the employees first by department and then by gender. So let's project this groups into a variable called egroup. So next what we want to do, we want to order the groups themselves first by department and then by gender. So order by egroup dot key dot department, and then we want to sort by gender. Okay, so once we have the group sorted, we need to now project these into an anonymous type and populate the required properties. So select new. So what we want this DEPT property equals, so where are we going to get the DEPT property from? egroup.key.department, and similarly we want gender property, and that we are going to get from gender property of the key, and then we want employees equals this group, and we want the employees within the group to be sorted, so we'll use order by x such that x dot name. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this and see if we get the identical output. Look at that, again we have got 4 groups, first HR and then IT. HR groups are sorted by gender, and also employees within each groups are sorted by name in ascending order. And this is exactly the code that we have written on the in the example just now. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.